In 2019, February, so almost 2 years, exactly 2 years ago, actually, we set out on this journey where we said that, all of us believe in the importance of community-led development. All of us believe it is important to put communities front and center in development. And we believe that is the case because it is the right thing to do. At the same time, it is also, we've heard, the efficient thing to do. We've also heard that it's the effective way to get programming done. That's the way to sustainability. That's the way to self-reliance. That's the way to better governance. So we've been hearing over the last few years increasingly how we believe that community-led development and community voices are the way to go in development, not just because they're the right thing to do, but also because they have all of these impacts. But there has never been a very systematic study of what these impacts are. What happens when we put communities front and center in development? And that's the information of evidence that is required, because when you speak to governments, when you speak to other funders and donors and say, this is how we need to do our programming and our work, the question is, yeah, well, but what is the evidence of impact? So 2 years ago, we set out on this journey to find that evidence. And our questions were how, why, and under what circumstances does community-led development result in improved development outcomes? So we did not ask, does it do something or does it have an impact? Our question was, what is the process of human change that community-led development triggers, which leads to this impact? We wanted to understand that. And we wanted to also find out how can we document this better, because we felt that our current evaluation methodologies don't allow us to do this. And so this was something which could not be done by one person or organization. And that's why, as I said, we had 35 people from 23 organizations who came together, who volunteered to be a part of this. And we said, well, to get to this, we first have to understand what is community-led development. Because guess what? We didn't have a common understanding of what CLD was. The first question everybody asked when we asked them for evaluation reports to understand the impact was, yeah, that's great. We can give you evaluation reports, but what do you mean by community-led development again? Like, how do we know if this program is community-led or not? Should we give you this report or not? And that was a genuine question, because there is no common understanding of what CLD would be or what CLD programming looks like, right? And then what do we expect its impact to be? Because actually, if you look at how people speak for the last few years, we believe it to do anything and everything, right? So it'll be from better governance to sustainability to effective programming, cost efficiency, everything is going to happen with CLD, which is a little too much to expect of a methodology. And of course, approach, and we expected to do it instantly, right? So the third thing was that, like I said, how are we going to document and capture this impact? And so these were basic questions we had to understand before we could even get to answering what and how that impact happened. So all those 35 people that I talked about, we divided ourselves into 3 groups, and we started answering different segments of this question. What is CLD? What does it do? How do we capture its impact? 3 groups, 3 questions. And then we got an advisory committee of practitioner experts and academics, based out of Australia and Indonesia and in the US, and they were spread out all over the country, all over the world. So crazy time zones, but also trying to ensure that Indonesia, that we brought in all these diverse experiences in. What did we arrive at? Well, we discussed, we debated, we looked at literature, we consulted, we looked at our own programming and work, and we arrived at 11 characteristics of community-led development. Now, we've heard Irene actually mention a lot of these in the presentation before. So all of these words should be familiar to us. Then we said, well, okay, great. So we have this 11 characteristics, but we are practitioners, right? So what does this mean? What do these 11 characteristics mean in our work? How do they occur in the life cycle of a program? Like, is it at the needs assessment stage? Do they happen in the implementation stage? Is this in the monitoring and evaluation stage? Where are we talking about participation? What is happening? And so what we did was we converted these 11 characteristics into 9 dimensions that you see here. Again, none of this was going to be surprising. I'm sure all of us use this in our everyday work, especially if we believe in community-led development. So we brought them down to 9 dimensions. Now, over the next few minutes, I'm going to come back to this often, so keep these in mind. What we did in the last 2 years was that we looked at all of this and we came up with 3 products. One, a report. This draft report, which is actually currently open for feedback, and I'm going to put a link into the chat as soon as I finish, and we would really appreciate your feedback on this. We looked at 173 programs across 65 countries that implementing organizations identified as being community-led per their own definition. We did not tell them what we believe to be community-led. They identified and they sent us these reports. We got over 400, we brought it down to 173, and we systematically, for the first time ever, looked at what are organizations doing when they say they're doing CLD? What does it mean? What are its characteristics? What activities and stuff? And then they created 2 tools, which I will again very briefly and quickly take you through. The CLD assessment tool, and this is for us as organizations, as practitioners. How do we know that we are actually being true to the principles of community-led development? Or where are we in the journey of community-led development, A? And B, how do we showcase this to the world? How do we share this out with the world? Because one thing that we realized as we did this study was, oh my God, report after report after report, there was nothing there that told us that this program is community-led. And there was a point when you would just be like, yeah, fine, I see impact, that's great. But how am I ever going to say this is an impact of putting communities front and center? Because your report, or, you know, it doesn't even mention communities anywhere or people anywhere. So what's going on here, right? So we wanted to capture that, and this tool is designed to be that. The second tool is a quality appraisal tool for CLD evaluations. And this is based on the belief that evaluations for community-led development programming are not done like in other evaluations. They can't be extractive. We don't look at communities just as sources of information. We believe communities are going to be taking decisions, as Irene was talking about here, right? That they're going to be the ones who are going to decide what's going to happen. They're going to take action. So like us, they need to know what has been the result and impact of those actions so that they can course correct. So evaluations for CLD programs need to be true to the principles of CLD. And what are those principles? So those are the 2 tools. I want to quickly give you an overview of those. The challenge with this is always that, you know, it's very little time to go over so much content. And I've just done this as a few sessions. I'm going to rush through this. I am actually going to skip, if it's okay, Evelyn, the results of the report. They are going to be in the report of what CLD programming looks like, you know, what dimensions are present. And you can see like accountability. Less than 35% of the reports had any sign of accountability. And one would imagine that's a basic of what, you know, mainstay of what we do, but it's not there, right? So there are all of them, the kinds of programs that we saw, the average duration, how, you know, we saw that the duration of programming is so important, something that we've been saying for a long time, but now there's evidence of it. You know, the gender dimensions of this work. So all of these findings, how certain kinds of programming had more community-led characteristics in their report than other kinds of programming, and all of this being statistically significant and stuff like that. So all of this is in the report. Please look at it. It's open for feedback till the end of February. But I want to quickly take you to the tools, because in some ways these are co-created tools. We have had a lot of organizations working on it for 2 years and then getting feedback, but we realize tools are living instruments. So they are only as effective as their usage, and we would love for you to look at them to provide feedback. And we know a lot of organizations have already started adapting and using them. So if you are, again, we would love feedback. So the CLD assessment tool, and I'm actually going to skip some of these sections and directly take you to the tool and show you what it looks like. So the tool actually has 5 segments in it, 6 segments. It's an Excel-based tool. It was designed such that you don't need an internet connection to be able to look at it, because it's not going to be a one-off process. And the beauty of this tool, or the value of this tool, is not so much the scores that you're going to get, but the discussion that happens in the process of getting to those scores. So we have a README first sheet that tells you what this tool is about, instructions. We also have an extensive guidance document if you want to look at the process and understand why these questions are there or what's happening. But a simple instruction sheet on how to use this tool is the first tab. Then general information about the tool. the rubric, which is this actual tool, that remember I mentioned 9 dimensions? Those 9 dimensions are in this sheet. And each dimension, we look at some questions. How does it appear? So for instance, participation, inclusion, and voice. Did that happen at the stage of needs assessment? Did that happen in program design? Did that happen in implementation? Did that happen in monitoring and evaluation? And then what did the participation look like? Was it just women being included and then we are saying we are being inclusive? Was that enough? Did we also look at people living with HIV/AIDS? Did we also look at other, marginalized and vulnerable populations? Did they just attend the meetings? Or were they an active part of the decision making? All those levels and steps. So you look at it, there are 4 scores, you can say didn't try, tried, not there, but we've tried some of it. So we're making a beginning. Well, we actually managed to get a lot of groups in and, have them speaking. Maybe they were not key decision makers, but it's a progress. And it succeeds when they were decision makers. So there's a scale. And this is based on the idea that CLD is not static and it's not going to look the same for all of us everywhere. So this is designed to cater to that. And what you see at the end of it, so like I said, the main thing about this tool is the discussion. Because as you sit with community members and go through this, what do you believe? What does the program staff implementing this believe? And what do the community members see? And what do they believe? And that itself is a huge learning exercise. But then you see your results in the form of these spider graphs, which you can actually directly put into reports to talk about what's happening, what characteristics are in your program, and see where do you need improvement. Like here, we're not doing well in sustainability. That's really low. So we are doing really well in terms of respecting and celebrating local knowledge or working with local governments. And then the graphs will take you into details of each of them. So that's an overview of the tool. I'm out of time, I'm sure. Or do I have another minute to quickly just give an overview of the other tool?
Yes, do.
Okay, thank you. I am absolutely going to just take 1 minute, but I am going to stop sharing my screen. And I want to show you this other screen. So the second tool that I talked about, this tool is for program designers, it's for program implementers, it's for community members, a learning tool. It can be used by strategy discussions. But the second tool that I'm going to show you now is specifically to a tool that was designed for evaluation purposes. So it was a tool that was designed when we commissioned, like I said, what should a CLD evaluation look like, right? What does it mean if you are evaluating a CLD? How do we ensure that it's rigorous, good quality evaluation so that people don't say, right, but we don't trust what they're saying. And at the same time, it's true to the principles of CLD. And me and my tech challenges, I am trying to find my screen to show you this. Which was again co-developed with a lot of organization. It's a simple Excel-based 13-question tool. And finally, here it is. This one is way simpler. It's just 13 questions. It has a simple guide that tells you how to use it. We love Excel for some reason. So everything is on Excel. So this is also Excel-based. It tells you the scoring. It explains the scoring to you and the weightage. And then it's 13 questions, like I said. It tells you it can be yes, no, or partial answers. It explains how to answer the questions, what to look out for. Once you put in the numbers, you get 2 scores, a full score and a CLD score. So now you can look at it and you can actually see how you're doing. 21, which means actually we're doing really well. It's a really good quality evaluation that we have out here. But our CLD score was 5. So we really need to work on getting our evaluation more community-led, which could mean sharing the findings back with the community, involving them in the design process, all of that. So this is a tool that can be used as you commission evaluations, as you do evaluations in the form of checklists, etc. I'm going to pause there. It's a lot of information, I know. Apologies for that. Happy to take questions. The tools are available in English and French. Spanish versions are coming soon. We are hoping that we'll be able to add other language versions. If anybody would like to work on the Dutch version of it, please let us know. We would love that. And back to you, Eveline.